Hello YouTube, I'm Laura, and this is tropetrinitytrilogy. So if you're one of the 5 people that happen to stumble upon this video and you don't know what NaNoWriMo is, I'll tell you right now. I'll be brief. NaNoWriMo is a month-long challenge on the internet where a bunch of people get together on the website NaNoWriMo to write 50,000 words of their first draft of their novels. The first year I did NaNoWriMo was last year, so I haven't done it the most, but I'm proud to say I won, and yes, I printed out my certificate, and all yes, I put tape on the back and hung it on the wall. I have no shame. Since NaNoWriMo starts next week, last night I was determined to finish my outline for it. And through perseverance, strength, and the power of my free will, I was able to finish it. That wasn't overdramatic at all. So I thought I'd talk about how I outlined my novel and give some tips that might help you if you're struggling with it, or if you're really bored and desperate for something on the internet to entertain you. Because last year I did NaNoWriMo and I might have got 50,000 words, but I got nowhere in my story. Because when I was writing, the first 3 chapters were on point, and then after that, it became just a skewed mess of me introducing characters and not much else happening. And also action scenes with no point. Just action for the sake of action. I could have made the plot a lot faster and a lot more interesting, and now I have an outline that will allow this to happen. So I'm hoping this year I'll be able to finish it. So my process for outlining is not the most revolutionary, original, unique way to do it, but it works for me, so I'm gonna share that right now. There's the beauty right there, my outline. So, as you can see, I have alternating thumbtacks, blue, green, for each chapter. And for some of the chapters, I even drew little pictures. But that was at the beginning of the outline when I was just moving along all lackadaisically. Then at the bottom, I was just so tired and struggling. I stayed up till 3 a.m. last night finishing this outline. I am bad at time management and my priorities are obviously skewed. So the first thing I do is not trying to organize or determine everything as much as it is just to brainstorm different scenes and events I think would happen or should happen in my story. That'd be really cool. Think about what the characters would do and how they would react, and jot down a couple notes about what I'm thinking and what I've thought of so I don't forget it. And while doing this, I tried to determine all the key scenes to the story. So the hook, which should be in the first chapter, inciting incident that gets the story started, the midpoint where the story changes pace, the climax, which, is a peak of the story where it's most intense, and then the end, which would be the last chapter. So I try to figure out those key events and a couple other really important events to the story, but might not have specific names when it comes to story structure. And then I write all those scene ideas on note cards. Well, in fact, I cut them in half because one note card is kind of big for a scene. Now, it doesn't really matter if you write it by scene. You could have one note card be an entire chapter, or you could have it be by scene, or you could have a note card be several scenes listed out. I feel like that one might be a little much though. Or you could just have one sentence. You could just be like, foreshadow this thing that needs to happen later. Also, while brainstorming all my ideas, I try to think of some of the subplots, like the romantic subplot, if there's a love interest, or family troubles, or all of that stuff. Think of a bunch of characters, write them down. Don't get too attached to them because you might cut them later. And if there's a big plot twist, I think of that too and contemplate how I'm going to foreshadow it throughout the book. And sometimes I just write foreshadow that plot twist on my note cards. And yeah, I just write whatever comes to mind. Some of them are entire scenes, some of them are entire chapters, and some of them are just one thing that needs to happen. This character meets this character. Don't know how? Put it in a note card. We'll figure it out. So, after I have all the ideas I already had down on note cards, I arrange them in order I think they'll happen. Now, if you're not 100% sure about all of them, it's okay. It's just important that you have the beginning, the end, the climax, and a couple of them scattered throughout. Once I have that all put down, I don't immediately start filling in all the pieces. In fact, the first thing I do is divide it. Now, you could do it by acts, you could do it by events, you could be like, I know this happens, and all these cards have to take place before this event, so they go there, and these cards all have to take place after this event. So I might have one card in the center, or I usually try to divide it into 3 or 4, because that's more manageable, because I feel like trying to outline the whole thing and arrange all the cards feels very overwhelming and takes up a lot of space on my desk. That's not really a reason, it's more because it's overwhelming, but whatever. Then, when I have that section and all the cards I know will be in that section, and the beginning and end of it, whatever, then I just take all the later cards and push them aside. I'll worry about them later. My air conditioner just turned on. We'll ignore that. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so then I'm at that section, and I try to arrange everything how it would logically fit from point A to B. Now, I usually just brainstorm and write down a bunch of cards that could only happen in that section, and then I eventually try to rearrange them. Some of them get thrown out because you know how some people are overwriters. I'm an over outliner, meaning I'll have 20 unnecessary chapters because I think that it's weird to have these 2 chapters next to each other, and then it's like, no, Laura, just put them next to each other and say time passed. We do not need 3 unnecessary chapters for those 3 days that we should just skip. So I arrange all of them, cut out the unnecessary ones, and bam, I have a section done. Then I rinse and repeat for the rest of the sections until it's all done. Now, after that, I look over it to make sure that the story has a nice flow. There's no moments where everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is so boring, I'm going to die. Why did I pick up this book? Make sure there's no giant laws in action, and I make sure that I haven't forgotten any subplots. So if there's supposed to be a romantic subplot and the love interest only have 2 chapters where they hang out before they're actually supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I love you. It's like, that's a little weird. No one's gonna care about it if they only meet for 2 chapters. So you gotta make sure that you make people spend time together if they have to, or if you have a plot twist and you're like, oh crap, I did not foreshadow this, and all these scenes that I forgot to put that needed to foreshadow this are not there. I put it in there because it's easier to add a note card to your outline than it is to add a chapter and then rewrite all the chapters that take place after to fix it once you already wrote the draft. So I make sure I didn't forget to put anything, didn't leave some subplots undeveloped. Maybe I'll look at it and be like, this thing is way too long and these things are really unnecessary. I'll cut them out. If I'm adding something, I'm not necessarily gonna be like, well, gotta add a chapter for this or gotta add a whole scene. I'll be like, wow, these 2 characters didn't hang out. I know in this scene when my character goes all ninja style and everyone's sneaking in and being all Nancy Drew sleuthing, I'm like, wait, she doesn't have to go alone. I know. I'll take her and the love interest and make them go together. genius. So I'm furthering the main plot as I'm furthering the subplot. So that's one way that I make sure it's all fixed. And it's really just about going over it and making sure that it has a nice flow, that it feels natural, that there's not giant laws in it, and trying to figure it out. And if any one of my 3 viewers are interested in trying that method of outlining, which is not actually that original, just how I do it, you can try it. Go ahead. Awesome. And since NaNoWriMo is coming up, it's always good to think about outlining, because let me tell you, writing a novel, in trying to do it in a month, so you have to write quick, and not being able to look at something and being like, oh, that's what happens in this chapter. That's difficult. So I would say my outline is not the most detailed thing. I don't look at a card and be like, oh, this is exactly what happens in this chapter, as much as I look at the card and be like, oh, there's an action scene where these 2 characters fight. I don't know exactly the specifics of the fight, might not even write who wins the fight, but I know there's a fight, and I know what the general consequences will be for the rest of the story and how it will affect them. But I don't go in that specific. A lot of the big scenes, to be honest, I can write one word and know exactly what happens throughout the whole scene because I thought about so much in my head. Whereas other ones, I'm not entirely sure what will happen. I'll see when I write it. Excited to find out. So when I'm writing my novel, I plan on taking out the thumbtack and bringing the card of the chapter I'm writing down with me so I can look at it as I write and keep myself on track. So if any of you are also participating in NaNoWriMo, leave a comment down below telling me. And you can also mention your story idea or how you prepared for NaNoWriMo, because I'd love to hear it. Also, if any of you want to add me as a buddy for a NaNoWriMo, my name on the page is Laura Fielder. So just type that in and add me and I'll add you back. And if you enjoyed this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't. Whatever floats your boat.